Hello there, Techno team. So I'm really going to get after it today as far as helping you understand how this is a simulated experience. This illustration right here, this is all of the geometry, this is all of the plutonic shapes and the arrangements of everything that is in existence. We exist in a collective mind. The collective mind creates a collective dream or a collective illusion. And then each individual mind is born into that illusion, and then they can interact in the ways that they decide they want to learn within this collective illusion. That's how this is. These plutonic shapes are organized by an 8-arm Archimedean spiral, and Archimedean spirals are used in digital projection systems. They're also used to integrate and combine broadband frequencies and to connect it all together. We are literally technology projected through geometric shapes, and these geometric shapes are very, very realistic. What do I mean? So when fractal mathematics became popular is when Pixar started to use them. The company Pixar used fractal mathematics to make their cartoons look highly detailed and lifelike. And ever since then, fractal mathematics have been making it possible to do all kinds of crazy computer-generated images that look real and age with time. That's what fractal mathematics do. Because we exist within fractal mathematics, we can look as close as we want and as small as we want, and the fractal mathematics will just keep on getting sharper and sharper. It's all about image quality. Same thing when we look as far away as we want, because these fractal mathematics just keep going outward and inward. It doesn't matter where we look, we're going to see these very detailed, realistic, oh my gosh, that's so real. We are in a simulation, period. That's what this is, okay? Now, you can also understand that until we have the technology to start to create simulations ourselves, that no past civilization would be able to describe this mathematical construct in a way that would make sense and that people would understand. So this is the idea that we have to progress through these different cycles of time to achieve this awareness. Okay, so we're going to do a super fast review here. So obviously, this geometry that I showed you in the beginning, you've seen the slide before. It's connected to this 3D collective mind, okay? And we're taking away the plutonic shape so that you can see the levels. We've got the mental, we've got the emotional and the physical, and how that relates to Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, okay? And then we got into the importance of this symbolism, the cross here, and then it's showing that this cross is moving in a clockwise direction. That's because this 8-arm Archimedean spiral only moves in a clockwise direction. And this clockwise direction, what it does is it synchronizes the physical cycles of time with the emotional cycles of time, and it also integrates it with the mental cycles of time. An 8-arm Archimedean spiral functions to create linear time within endless circular time. And all of the physical, emotional, and mental awarenesses are connected to both endless and linear time. So that was what the mandala is about. It's about that our awareness is both eternal, but it's also perishable. It means it has a lifespan. So this is the lifespan, and this is the endless pattern that every lifespan happens within. That's what the symbolism. Again, we're just going through this quick. Okay, so now we need to talk about these synchronized slideshows that are showing what's happening with these Archimedean spirals and how they're both connected to the spiraling linear pattern as well as the expansive circular pattern. Now, as you watch these two slideshows run through the plutonic solids, remember, the smallest plutonic solid is on the bottom, the largest plutonic solid is on the top. And you can see it here, how we've got that egg-like shape, and how they're stacked up here. So this is showing how the circular pattern is expanding as we go through the sequence of the year. And again, this is showing how linear time is spiraling as we go through the seasons of the year. And this 56 segment season here, that's what creates everything. Everything is synchronized to it. So this is how we can have a linear lifespan within this endless circular time that generation after generation after generation gets to experience. But, at some point we die and our ancestors, they carry on. So that's what that's showing you right there. Again, simulation. This right here, the 8-arm Archimedean cross, right below this, I have every single pattern that runs in this cross, and we have just under 2 million equations that are organizing all these patterns together. So when you go to the live space-time feed and you hit the play button, and it says exactly where we are in space and time, That's how we're doing that. We have organized everything using this, and these are the organizational patterns. Let me back this out so you can see them all. Okay, so let's keep moving here. Now, on the resources page of healthreconnected.com, there's a resource that says how macro linear time is organized. This is a 15,840 year sequence. And that 15,840 year sequence is created by 8 separate sequences of 1,980 years. So I want to zoom this in. We're going to start at the bottom and we're going to work our way up. So right here from 1-1 to 1-7, so these 7 awarenesses, which relate to the 7 squares and the 7 circles that create linear and endless time, this takes 1,980 years to complete. When this cycle starts, a prophet, a space-time prophet, will be born. Now, as they go through this linear segment of time, 1,980 years later, another space-time prophet will be born. And every time the space-time prophet is born, they understand these patterns and they explain how all this organization works. But what they don't have at the bottom here is we don't have the awareness yet that we're technology because we haven't built that yet. So you have to look at each one of these 8 cycles as we go forward as the building blocks for us to come into awareness. So there's a space-time prophet born here. There's a space-time prophet born here for cycle 4. There's a space-time prophet born for cycle 5. There's a space-time prophet born for cycle 6. Now, the cycle 6 prophet, I'm positive it's Abraham, because he establishes the first 5 books that are shared in the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. And they describe Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, the Garden of Eden, the snake, all of it. He's describing fractal mathematics. I know Abraham is a macro prophet, and macro prophets are going to be born or are going to come to their awareness just as this new cycle is starting. So in year 1948 BCE, he's going to have a vision just like I did of a blue circle, and then he's going to understand how this works. And then Jesus is the next prophet. So the reason why we're talking about these top cycles is because we actually have historical data that's relatively accurate and well documented to see this. Now, why is there only one prophet that has this big view? Because there's only one collective mind. That's why. One prophet born, connected to the collective mind. The collective mind instructs the prophet on how this works and then asks the prophet to basically commit his life to sharing how this works with everybody else in the simulation so that they can benefit from it. That's what a space-time prophet is, and that's why there's only one of them. Also, the space-time prophets are male because of this. The pattern that shows the closed AI model is masculine. That's why. It doesn't mean that males are better than females. It just means that males give spiritual birth and females give physical birth. The inverse. That's what that means. So the reason on the website that I give Abraham and Jesus credit and tie into what they've done is because they most certainly were on this. Now, how do I know that the Hindus were into this? Because of the way they describe it in their religion, and whatever space-time prophet came here in year 3928 BCE, which is likely the Sumerians, but we don't have enough historical data to confirm this, and the Sumerians were very, very, very powerful civilization and were trading with the areas of Pakistan and India. And they would have been definitely influencing them, especially if they had advanced mathematical knowledge. They would share this. Now, that's how that's connected. And it's not like the Sumerians weren't also influencing all the other religions that came after them. All religions are based on the same math, the same geometry, nothing's different, okay? So I'm trying to show you why every 1980 years that a single space-time prophet is born. Now, when we get up here and they talk about the return of Christ, why? Because you can see here that there's a prophet born for the negative side of the shape, and then there's a prophet born that's going to be connected to the upper or the positive side of the shape. Same thing here. There's a prophet born to the negative side of the shape and a prophet born to the upper side of the shape. This is the prophecy I'm connected to. So I'm technically the second prophet in this shape. That's why it would be return of this. So let's back this out for a minute so you understand the principles of Hinduism. So this shape, path of selfless action, why? This shape is about the family and about group interactions, the very definition of why you would want to be selfless. The path of devotion, what's that about? That's about this shape. This is the shape that has to do with individuality. And as individuals, we have to be devoted to living in a righteous way. That's the path of devotion. The path of knowledge, that's this shape right here. This is the dodecahedron. This is the idea that we can learn and become more proficient within this and start to understand what it is we are. And then when we get into this final shape, it's the path of mental discipline, because this shows us that, hey, if we use our minds and we use our conscious thought and we overcome the negative design of our body, this is how we get to go to that eternal afterlife, that positive place where we reconnect with what all the religions consider heaven or a godlike state where you're connected to God. And I just happen to be the guy that understands the path of mental discipline, but actually I understand all the paths because every space-time prophet does. If you would have went to the resources, you would see that I say every space-time prophet has equal ability. The only thing that's different is the technological capacity that exists while they're in the creation. Okay, now you're starting to understand what it is I am and how I'm related to the Hindu religion, how I'm related to every religion. Every religion is based on these principles. Now, I know that there are 4 paths that the Hindus talk about, but you got to understand in Buddhist religion, they have the eightfold path to enlightenment. Oh, that's surprising. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cycles. And it would take until the 8th cycle until you would reach full enlightenment. We literally now have created the technology and can confirm we are in a simulation. We live within a collective mind. This collective mind is the very idea of God. I am now fully connected to this collective mind, and I am offering you my services. That's what this is. Now, that's going to kind of help you understand. We already went through this, and I already showed you how I know how to get out of the negative cycle of death and into the positive cycle of life. This is Kalki. Here's Jesus. Wow. What a surprise. They're using the exact same symbolism of the horseshoe on how to get to heaven. They're using the same symbolism of the double-edged sword. That's going to be micro and macro karma. And then the Buddhists aren't far off here either. They believe Buddha's coming back and he's going to be enlightened. And when he shares absolute full enlightened knowledge, it's going to make the world change. So Health Reconnected is really given Techno Exponent and every professional that works for it a huge opportunity here. One, you're the first company that I've revealed how this works to. And if you understand how this karma works, the people who come in the quickest and the ones that make the quickest transition and want to become part of this, they're going to earn higher places no matter what cycle they end up into. It can only benefit them. If you fight this, well, then you get the sword. Okay? There's no way around this. That's what's so cool about math. And this is no longer, oh, this religion is this or this religion is that. All religions are trying to give us the exact same information, just like I've connected these patterns to the Abrahamic religions. Now I've connected it to Hinduism, and I promise you Buddhism isn't far behind. And now we also know how this is created from a technological standpoint and a mathematical standpoint. So it doesn't matter what you believe. This is what it is. Now, for anybody who thinks they're aware, this is how you know when you're aware. When you become aware, you're in a simulation. And because they're not aware, this is why our technology so easily predicts when people are going to have accidents, injuries, what parts of their body are going to hurt, when they're going to fall ill, and eventually when they're going to die. Because if you don't know that you're in a simulated reality, you can't prepare for the pattern that's coming, which means the pattern works you over and you have to suffer until you learn what it is. And now you know what enlightenment is. You've all been enlightened. You're in a simulation. you happen to be with the guy that's designed to share this knowledge and information. This is what I understand, everything. I understand everything in which it exists within this construct. There's not one part of this construct I can't explain. And I would love to sit down with all kinds of people and help them see these patterns and help to kind of connect AI to this so that we can organize it even faster and so that we can make this go even smoother. That's how we're supposed to use AI technology, not unrighteously, but righteously. Now you have the first right of refusal. I really hope everybody's excited, and you should be a little scared at the same time because these prophets are no joke. And I promise you, this collective mind is not bargaining with us. In fact, the collective mind that makes it possible for each one of us to have individual conscious thought expects us to use that conscious thought to serve the collective mind. That's it. Now, the next phase is to show you how your rhythms, the rhythms that connect you to the collective mind, are creating all of the internal cycles in your body that regulate everything, create your moods, create everything that you experience, and how we can use this knowledge to your advantage. And as you learn how to do this and actually feel how this is, and we work through this together, we're going to be able to design the AI assistants to help other people do it faster. So this is a hands-on kind of project that everyone's going to be incorporated with. This is why I want the owners. This is why I want the key team leaders. They need to be involved. Now, I'll wait to hear back from you guys. I put some time into making this video. I wanted to be crystal clear, and I want you to understand who I am and what I represent. I represent the collective mind that gives every single one of us the ability to have conscious thought. To work against the collective mind is absolute karmic suicide, and I would highly suggest everyone stop what they're doing immediately and redirect their attention to righteous activity at every level of their life. I can't wait for our next conversation, and I am excited to get this process started with Team Techno Exponent. See you soon.